Nice to meet you.
The sun peeks over the horizon. Your excitement builds. The animals in the field start to stir. The forest comes alive with sounds. The sunlight glimmers off the lake, and the mountains start to shed their morning fog. So load up your favorite ammo, grab a few buddies, and head out to make some memories. And tell the rest of the world that you've gone hunting. Gone Hunting is a 1 to 4 player game of family fun where you build a unique hunting ground, scout different animals, buy weapons and gear, and roll dice to hunt. Complete objectives and try not to miss. So let's load up the truck and back Gone Hunting today. See you in the field.
Hey, what's up, guys? There's Brandon. I knew he'd show up.
How's it going?
Hey.
So, you
What's
guys,
going on, y'all?
I have with me Linda White, special guest of the night. I am super excited that she has wanted to be part of this with us. And we also have little Bronson over here who has joined us, little hunting buddy of mine who has been joining in our rabbit hunting adventures. So I'm excited to have both of these on the show. I think he's more excited to see you, Linda, than me. I'm not going to lie. It's okay, though. I can handle it. So, Linda, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Where do we start? What do you want?
Whatever you feel is necessary.
Yeah, what do you want people to know about you?
So, my intro is all the same. It seems like on every podcast. So I feel like I need to spice it up or something, but I'm kind of boring. I wasn't an outdoor kid. I fished. I'm a daddy's girl. I fished all the time whenever I was a kid, but that was pretty much it. I went hunting one time because he was a hunter. My dad was a hunter, and I went hunting one time, shot a squirrel, made him bury it in the backyard because I totally cried my eyes out when I saw what happened with the squirrel. And my dad was like, "We're done because we're not burying a buck in the backyard." So I did nothing else. I did no hunting, nothing. Didn't even know anything about trapping until I met my husband. We went on our first date. He said, "I fish, I hunt, I trap, and if you can't get on board, then we should probably end this right now." I was okay with the fishing. The hunting, I didn't have a problem with it. Just knew I was a baby. And honestly, I'm gonna no joke. I thought he was nice. So I was like, all right, this is a weird hobby. Whatever, dude. I mean, if that's what you're into. But then I went home and I told my best friend at the time I lived in Erie, Pennsylvania. So I was in a city, in a townhouse. She was a liberal. And I literally saw every like PETA video out there as soon as she found out that he was a trapper. Like it was bad. And I thought to myself, like, man, this guy seems so nice. I didn't think he was gonna bury me in the basement. Like, didn't think those things were but yeah, I mean, hey, whatever. So I said to him, I'm like, all right, I want to know what it's all about. And I went out, and really the rest is history from now, you know?
That's so cool. It's good for you for actually like taking an interest in it because there's so many people that just they think they already know what it is, so they just shut themselves down and don't take the time to learn. So good for you.
Well, you know what? And it's funny because like I'll have PETA people, like I was the poster child for quite a little while there. I mean, it was pretty bad, but like I have people who say things to me and I'm like, do you realize that your videos are the reason why I'm doing this?
Yeah.
Because if I wouldn't have taken, if I wouldn't have seen what they have posted and think like this guy and what they're showing to me just didn't like match up, you know,
Yeah.
like those things just didn't match up. And that's why I was like, all right, I want to see what's going on here.
Sure. I know a lot of things are taken out of context, and I think that when you get into it, especially when people get highly like opinionated about a subject that they've never gone and experienced themselves, I feel like a lot of information just gets taken out of context or misrepresented. And actually, that's why I'm super excited to talk to you too, because I haven't gotten into trapping yet. That's like next on my list. And I got a mink last year, and I got a muskrat last year, and this year I didn't get anything. And I am just like, I am casting about in the dark, and I know that there's a lot of people that want. I mean, it's my perspective. There's guys that I know that want to get into it, and we just like don't have anywhere, like no idea where to get started. So the idea that you didn't have exposure to that as a kid, and then like you got into it and as an adult, I just think that's super cool. So I'm excited to see what we learned today. And I think I'll be okay. I don't think I'll need to bury any muskrats. I won't get any, but I'll give you the benefit of it out there.
You might find it funny. You know the hunting game that we showed in the beginning?
Yeah.
We've gotten death threats for that. I've gotten told that they hope I die and they hope I get mauled by animals.
But they paid money to do that, Linda. They paid money to do that, so they can say it all they want. I don't care as long as they're helping sponsor the game. You know, poor Chris is going to die, but the game's going to get sponsored. You know,
that's all that matters.
Don't worry, Chris.
We got goals.
We got you back, Chris.
So your husband took interest in this first, and it was his thing, and his. I have to know. Did you tag along just because it was him? You know, and you or did you tag along more because you were interested in what it was he was doing?
So he's been trapping since he was 9 years old.
Oh wow.
He's trapping forever. And when he said, you know, hey, I hunt, fish, and trap, and then I looked at all these PETA videos and the two didn't match up, I said, all right, I want to know what this really is. You know, like what are you doing? Because this whole, you know, big barbaric trap that's going to hurt this animal, and you're basically, from what PETA tells you, that you're torturing it and you're a serial killer. It didn't match up, you know. I could have ended up as that woman on TV who was like, he seems so nice, but I didn't think that. I didn't feel that way. So I said, all right, I want to know what's going on. Like, I really want to see for myself. I feel that I'm an educated person, so I can make my own decisions, you know, and that's how I looked at it. Like, I can make my own decisions. So I went along, and if you ever meet my husband, you'll totally understand so much of what I'm going to tell you. But he, like trappers, we keep a lot. So he hands me the book, and he said, all right, come along. There's no free rides. Like, you're going to work. So I did. I log of what we were doing, and I asked questions. Like, I asked everything that I saw. I was like, all right, well, what's this and what's that, and why did they put this on there? And most of the stuff that he said is they put it on because they're crazy. But explained what really, like, what was really going on. And I saw a lot of that for my own eyes. That was the what really kept me coming back though is two things. One, I was waiting for that other shoe to drop. Like, my thought was like, okay, so that can't all be false. So
Sure.
when does this other stuff happen? Like you can smoke and mirror it for a little bit, but like, when does this other stuff?
Right.
And it wasn't happening. The second reason I came back is because I went out and there was a lot of rain the day before. Like, I mean, it just like pounded and pounded and pounded. So he had a coyote that it was at the bottom of this kind of valley. So like all the water sat there, everything sat there. And this coyote, unfortunately, the anchor didn't hold the way it was supposed to. He pulled it out, and he pulled it out with the trap. And he ended up, he said, all right, well, he looked around, and he man-looked. I'm sorry, guys, but man-looked. He looked around, said, all right, well, unfortunately, it happens. It's not supposed to, but, it happened. So I look over in the bush a little bit and I can see this like mud trail coming up. And I look over and here the wolf fang had got caught in between this little like twig in the bush, and his coyote was sitting right there.
Wow.
And so to this day, that is my first coyote. I didn't have a license, but I'm like, that's my coyote, dude. And I was hooked, like completely hooked at that point.
Wow.
And I felt like this sense of accomplishment, like, oh my gosh, like I did this. And that was it. From there on out, I'm like, I'm doing this. I tagged along any chance I had, to the point where I'm like, I'm tired of hauling your crap around. I'm going to get my own license and run my own line, because you really, in New York, like the only thing I can do is like carry stuff. If you don't have a license, you can't really touch any traps. You can't put anything in the ground. You can't do anything. Carry it. But that's about it. So I got tired of carrying stuff, and I was like, all right, I'm doing this on my own.
That's super cool. Did you go straight into coyotes, or did you like kind of, I don't know, I have no idea even, is there any purpose to building up, or do you just fire away? What did you get started on first?
So I'm a land trapper. I hate water trapping. I go with my husband, and like I consider myself a stick girl, like for beaver trapping. Like I'll hand the sticks, I hand all this stuff, but I don't like to get wet and cold. And I live in New York, so there's a lot of wet and cold and ice. Like, so water trapping is just not my thing. So I land trap. That is what I love. I focus mainly on fox because they're smaller and easier for me to carry. So when I have all my crap, I can still carry the fox. No problem. But of course, you get coyotes too.
Cool.
So what's your count for the year? I have to ask. What's your count for the year?
For the year? Oh, that's a really good question. I think I ended with like 30. I want to say it was like 30 fox. I think I was at like 15 or 16 coyotes. I had 2 bobcats.
That's awesome.
Wow.
I have it written down. I just didn't look. I didn't know there was a quiz. I would have looked.
I'm sorry. I didn't want to quiz you. I didn't want to put you on the spot. I just know I have buddies that trap, and I personally don't do it. I love going with. I think it's awesome. I just don't have the time to say every 24 hours I can check a trap.
Right.
So I feel it's not fair for me to do it, and it's against the law by laws.
Yeah.
So I know that like they can, if I say, what'd you trap this year? They're like, I did this, I did that. And so I think it's awesome. Like I know a guy told me he got 2 fishers this year.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And he showed me live videos of the fisher trying to eat the trap off his leg. I mean, it was awesome.
So we have, and like I can tell you, like what all our numbers are. trying to like think like, okay, which ones were mine, which ones are, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like we keep like a kind of like a running tally. Like my husband got like 5 fisher this year. I think we're up to like 30 or 40 beaver. Because I have that I got to put on the board now. We had 6 otter, I think it was. There
Cool.
4 or 5 muskrats, maybe 6 muskrats now. But yeah, season ended on the 15th, and we were like, we just had a fur sale that was up here, so we were like rushing to get fur in, getting that put up. We went. So this year was an odd year for us. Like normally, I trap like pretty much the entire time in New York, and then we go to Arkansas from roughly around this week. Like we would
Wow.
be in Arkansas. But this year instead I trapped only in New York for 3 weeks. Then I went we did a girls weekend in Nebraska, and then I went to Tennessee for 2 weeks and trapped down there, and we just got back from Tennessee 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then did water trap here.
And you're going these places specifically to trap? Like that's like a trip you're taking?
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep.
I've never heard of any. I mean, maybe is that very common for people who are passionate about trapping?
It's common for crazy people, but no, I don't think so. So like in New York, where I'm at in New York, we have a lot of animals, but other than beaver, we don't have a lot of one specific thing. So like my goal was to trap a bobcat. Well, to trap a bobcat, I'm gonna have to go somewhere than where I'm at. Like we trap over 2 counties, and when I say 2 counties, the one is 1,400 square feet, the other one is 1,600 square feet. So we're running like 100 miles. But we trap over 2 counties in New York, and in those 2 counties, like one bobcat has been tagged in the last like 6 years in the one county, and in the other county only 4. So for me to catch a bobcat, I'm not doing it here.
Sure.
Like where I'm at. So we had the opportunity to go down south, and when it's blowing and freezing and cold, and somebody tells you, "Hey, let's go to Tennessee," you're going. Like heck yeah.
Sure. That's super cool.
Whereabouts in New York are you trapping?
So I'm about an hour south of Buffalo. I'm in like the southern tier.
Yeah, you're a ways out there then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm over in like the other side of Albany,
Oh, okay.
the capital, and my father actually is like a nuisance trapper for Rensselaer County. So he does a ton of stuff there. He actually has like a contract with DNR basically, and he's the guy they call for the county. So
Yeah.
Speaking of Fox, look at them pictures.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's not all of them though. We had, like I said, had that first sale, and we were trying to get our first foot up, and then we still had some that weren't dry yet and everything. But so I think we took so that first sale, there was 26 that we ended up taking, but that like are in there too. So
they're beautiful.
did you go to the sale in Saratoga County? Is that where you went?
No, Hinsdale, it's August.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just had their first sale on the 4th of February, I believe, in Saratoga County.
Oh, okay.
Now you flesh and tan your own hides, then I'm assuming.
Yep.
Can you walk us through what that process is? Like what, at a high level, like what happens once you catch an animal?
So yeah, so well, it depends on what animal it is. Most of your animals you're gonna want to skin that day. You're gonna want to skin them out, except for a beaver. Beavers tend to eat a lot, so it's always nice. And if you have like a nice cool floor, like our garage floor is a cement floor. So, and when we're trapping beavers, 9 times out of 10, I mean, it's freezing cold out. So what we do is we'll throw the beaver on the cement floor. And what that does is it allows that blood to coagulate a little bit, so that whenever you're working with the beaver, it's not bleeding so much. So it's easier to skin it. It also then you don't have to mess with the fur as much, like cleaning it out. You don't have all that blood, nothing to really deal with. But everything else, you're going to want to skin it out that day. So
Okay.
you're going to skin it out. And then if you don't have time, so 9 times out of 10, we skin, but we don't flesh that day. And that's why we had so much problems right now, like getting all our fur ready for that sale, because what we normally do is, like, right now we have, I think there's 7 or 8 chest freezers, big chest freezers that are running. So we just take everything, you skin it out, you fold it, make sure all of that leather is inside. So you want to make sure that everything, that only the fur is showing, and then you just roll it up and you stick it in the freezer. That's what we do. And then it allows us to just, how do I want to put this? It allows us to sleep during
Sure.
really, because like
Cool.
if you're going all day long, I mean, like my husband has a full-time job, works for the county and everything like that. Normally during season, I'm self-employed, so normally during trapping season, like I'm trying to answer business calls while I'm out on a trap line. I'm trying to work things in while I'm trapping. I go from sun up to sundown. So anything that I can do to kind of like cut any of that time out, I do
Sure.
it. So
So you're batching that workout essentially.
yeah.
Very cool. Very, very cool. So what are we looking at here? This is women's.
Oh, so you guys are in PA. Of you is in PA.
Yeah, Ben and Chris are in PA. That's
So
right.
if you're where I think you are in Auburn, PA, that is literally 30 minutes from us.
So we're doing a women's trapping event in Auburn in April. So that's another thing that I do. So I do virtual women's trapping classes along with in-person workshops. So they're like weekend workshops to get people knowing what trapping really is. I mean, I could not tell you. So I did one in Tennessee when I was down there, and I couldn't tell you how many women still think traps have like teeth on them. They were blown away whenever they saw this trap, and they're like, there's no teeth.
I was like, wait, but Fox and the Hound told me that there is this.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm in the business of catching animals. I'm not in the business of catching feet. So no teeth on this. Like, I don't want that animal hurt. What the movies tell you is nothing, like, so we walk the women through everything. We tell them what trapping really is, how it helps like their hunting population, turkeys, deers, all of that, like people don't realize that the cause and effect of what happens, that was a big thing for them. And then we walk them through basically all of your basics of trapping.
That's so cool.
Well, Linda, I'll tell you, if it's where I think it is, I would love to stop out and personally meet you when you're in the area.
Absolutely.
So Chris and I may take a trip out to see you,
Heck yeah.
being you'll be so close to us. If my daughter doesn't have softball, I bet she'd be interested in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm pretty sure she'd be pretty cool to just come out. Either way, I'd like to come out and just see you in action showing your stuff. I may sneak in and take a peek.
Yeah.
And I'll definitely share this flyer. This is off subject, but we will definitely share this from now until then to help promote. I love what you do, and putting our guests on each one worked out. It was like God's plan because everybody specializes in something different.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like it was just perfect for what we were trying to accomplish.
Right. Yeah.
So we'll definitely help you in that as well. Now I got to ask a question. We're talking about all the hunting, all the trapping, but in the beginning you said you hated hunting. So I'm going to ask the question. I think I know the answer, but has trapping, because I know there's times you got to shoot the animal in the trap. I mean, it happens many times.
Okay.
Has trapping changed your thoughts to hunting?
So I never had any problems with it.
No, but you said you didn't do it.
Well, yeah, no, I didn't do it because I was a baby.
Right.
I was 12 and it made me cry. So yeah.
Sorry.
I shot a doe this year. I go turkey hunting. I go hunting. When I met my husband and I
Beavers.
started trapping, I'm gonna tell you. So trapping is probably the most up close and personal you'll ever get with an animal. Like you are really looking that animal in the eyes. And especially whenever you're taking the life of that animal, you are understanding what's truly happening. You know, I always think it's funny whenever I hear hunters tell me like, because they don't understand, first of all. That's the reason why. But they'll tell me like, oh, well, you're not a real hunter. You're just catching that animal. Like there's no skill. Well, first of all, to get that animal to step on this tiny little pan is a lot harder than sitting in the woods and hoping one walks by. Like, I don't mean to be mean, but it's a lot harder. But the thing is like most hunters, if they shoot a deer and it runs off and it dies, they don't see the whole process of that. They don't understand the whole process of that and what that is. When you have an animal in the trap and you take that life, you truly understand what is happening. And it honestly gives you a huge respect for what is happening, along with like, especially if you come up on an animal and it has mange, like you can see how cruel Mother Nature can be, with the overpopulation. And that's another thing. People don't get it. Like they're like, oh well, leave those animals alone. You're being so cruel and everything. When you have an overpopulation of predators, like you'll have mange, you'll have disease, you'll have starvation. And then you also like if you're looking outside and you don't see any bunnies, you don't see any turkeys, you don't see stuff, that's an issue. That's a problem. They all need to live.
Definitely. There's a balance at play there, and conservation is more than just preserving a species. Sometimes it means kind of culling that species or clearing things out to make room for others. So I think sometimes just like as a hunter, somebody who predominantly hunts and is just now getting interested in trapping, I think there is sort of a disconnect between like, oh, the trapping, like, oh, that's like the 1800s. That's old school stuff. Nobody does that anymore. There's way more effective ways. And but the reality is that trapping is still an integral part of the conservation programs that pretty much all states in the union still utilize heavily in order to manage populations. So
yeah, well, and that's like even like in outlaw kind of, I guess you want to call it recreational trap. So the only people that can trap right now are nuisance trappers. When they signed the bill that outlawed it, right after that, they spent $10 million to pay trappers to trap. They had there was such a like so
wow.
the state prior to that like was collecting money from trappers. They were
Right.
having a problem taken care of for free. Actually we were paying them because you have to have your license and everything. And now they just spent $10 million to take care of beavers and stuff. Like, where is the logic in that?
Does
None.
California even have logic in anything they do?
No.
No. No.
I think one thing that I'm trying to remember where it might have been actually on the Meat Eater podcast. They were talking about the Southern California beaver populations.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how like the wetlands in the area are essentially non-existent anymore because the beaver population would have created these dams and created wetlands throughout the southern part of the state. But without that, without the beavers, there's no naturally occurring dams, so there's no water being held, which means all of that peat moss basically just drains out and dries out, and it becomes a tinderbox, and then it like just completely exacerbates all the wildfires in the area. And I like those are the kinds of things like when I listen to it or I hear about it or I read about it, I'm just like blown away because, like you said, there's so much more going on in the background than we sometimes realize. And I mean, I don't know, like even turkeys are a really good example too. Like when we say, "Oh, I didn't see a turkey today," well, it's like, well, why is that? What's going on in the background? It could be pressure, it could be predators, it could be human interaction. It could just be some barrier that we've put up that now they can't cross. I mean, there's just so many different things in play, and it's fun to kind of figure out what each one of those things and elements could be. And I imagine that trapping is a lot of it because, I mean, trapping's a lot of tracking too, I think, right?
Yeah. So I get kind of like, we're going to go down my nerdy like path for a second. So, for instance, New York, as the fur prices have gone down, the bag limits on waterfowl has gone down. That's not a coincidence. All right. There's a lot of people out there who like their turkey population. They're like we're seeing less and less turkeys. Well, there's a lot less and less trappers out there who are buying license because fur prices have gone down. These things are all in play, and there's a lot of things out there that, like, even here where I'm at, the first year that I trapped our land. So it's so funny because my husband trapped for years and years and years, but he never trapped in his own backyard. He would cover the entire county, and he'd never trapped. We own 71 acres of land and never trapped. So he kept saying one day, he's like, we used to have so many deer on Sawmill. We used to have so many turkeys on Sawmill. He's like, we just don't see them anymore. So the one year I had, I think it was like 6 fox right behind our house. There was like 4 or 5 coyotes. I grabbed a whole bunch of coon, a couple possums. The next year, we started seeing these poults. The year after that, like, we now have people who are coming to hunt our land because we have so many turkeys that are on it.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's cool. That's a success story right there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The prices alone, though, for what it is, and there's a lot of work that goes. Like, I've seen my father and my brothers. I'm not a trapper. It was my father and my brother's thing. I was always the hunter, kind of off of my uncle. But they're big into it. My father still is very big into it. This is all he does all winter long.
Yeah.
And he loves it. Actually, so much that like we've retrofitted his shop to make drying times on hides way faster. I actually built him a drying room that can get hides dried within hours, like, and not ruin the hides. They're pretty cool.
Awesome.
And it's like an assembly line at his house of one person. But the prices are just so pitiful for the furs that, like, I see him put in so much work. He finally has a system down where he's making a ton of money at it. Not a ton, but he's making more money than most at it.
Mm-hmm.
Through skull and actually tanned hide sales, like, privately.
Yep.
But the prices really do dictate everything. People don't understand that. And
so I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
Like, what a lot of people don't get is there's so much more you can do and sell than just the fur. The fur right now is probably the least that you will make. For a beaver, for instance, let's take a beaver. So they're pretty much any right now. You can make a beaver $50 for all the time. Like,
oh yeah,
you can sell the oil sacks, you can sell the teeth, you can sell the skulls, you can sell the livers, you can sell the meat, I mean, the meat, for instance, like us bait and lure makers, we buy beaver meat all day long, So, like, other than maybe like the backbones, and honestly, actually, you can even sell the bones. You can sell the bones on Etsy all the time.
yeah.
So like there's so much that people, if you really put the time and the work in, or if you get a hold of a really good taxidermist who has like special orders and stuff, like that's what we always do when we get like kind of an off, like say a coyote,
like off color or something.
yeah, like that off fur, they don't really want that. I mean, everybody thinks that like, oh, you know, you got a black coyote or you got a blonde beaver or something
Yeah, the
like
price went
that.
down hard on those ones because nobody
Right,
wants them.
right, right.
Yeah,
So like when they do garment stuff, they can't match that up,
yeah,
you know? So it's like it's worth like nothing. But if you get in with a taxidermist, I mean, they'll pay you big money for those just oddity kind of things. Yeah.
Wow.
yeah. Yeah, my father's actually found somebody who tans hides cheap and does a very good job. So
Great.
he fleshes, dries, and ships them off. And he catch pole. Like this is gonna sound terrible, but he chokes them all out. He won't actually shoot them.
Yeah.
Just to not destroy the fur and the skulls.
Yeah.
And so those skulls, he's selling skulls, I believe, for $80 a piece after they're all completely bleached. And
Uh-huh.
then if you want the skull or the fur to that skull, if it's an odd black coyote or something, that's money to him. He
Oh,
he likes that because people will pay more for it.
yeah.
Um,
If you sell it to the right people, absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
You have to take the time and like your average trapper, they don't see it. They don't, it's already a big commitment to trap.
yeah,
Unlike hunting, you know, you can't just go out that weekend because you know you felt like you're when you stick a trap in the ground, you're
you're
committed.
committed to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Wow, I had no idea. I mean, I guess I just again I never really thought about like the value of all the parts and pieces.
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's really cool because I was going to ask about which is kind of like a nice little segue into this question because I was curious like okay let's say I start trapping this next season. I go out, I get myself some traps and some lure, and I kind of learn and do some YouTube university. I watch some of your stuff. Maybe I go to your class, and then I strike out and into the wilderness, and I throw up a trap, and life is sweet, and I catch something.
Okay.
And I skin it, I flesh it, and now I've got this skin, which I think is that when it's in the round, when it's just like basically been fleshed and it's just a raw skin.
It's
It's a hide.
green.
It's a
Yeah,
hide.
Green.
Yeah. It's a hide.
So I've got a green hide, and now what do I do with it? Like, do I sell it to somebody? Do I send it to a tannery? And how do I find those resources? Because it's not like an everyday thing. And even on Google, like you Google like local tannery, and like there is no local tannery in Northwest Ohio that I can go.
So first of all, anybody who's like totally new to this, my very first thing would be get a hold of your local trap, like state association. Get a hold of those people because first of all, they're where you're at. Like, and 9 times out of 10, have an older gentleman who'd be willing to go out on a line with you that he's retired and bored and he really what's going on. But as far as like the sale of stuff or going um the selling of it, if you were just going to take it to like a state sale or a county sale, all of that would be listed like on you're in Ohio, so the Ohio State has a ton of information. Right now I think I don't know I can't remember who the president is, but the vice president I'm really good with, and Dave Muir would love to help you. So you call Dave and tell him, hey, I got your number off the website, and Linda White told me I was supposed to call you, and you're supposed to help me out with all this stuff. He'd love you to death. But second of all, as far as finding a tannery, there's a ton of like if you googled tanneries, you're gonna find a ton of tanneries that are out there. But I honestly like I hate telling you get on Facebook, but Facebook there is there is so many different tracking groups that are out there, and honestly, how your fur is taken care of is important. Like
Sure.
that's you know, fur handling is the biggest part of it. Like, you're not going to make a $50 coyote a $100 coyote, but you can make a $50 coyote a $5 coyote if you're not handling it properly. So
Sure.
get on those Facebook groups. Say, hey guys, what has your experience been? I'm brand new to this. I'd really like to. I'd really like to, find a good cannery. This is what I'm looking at. I don't want to go crazy, right? Go good quality. Uh, we have a Facebook group, Sawmill Creek Outdoors, and get on like, hey, what should I do? I mean, I can tell you who we would go to and not go to, but I'd prefer not to do it on here because I
Sure.
never like to kind of say, hey, I had a bad experience with this business, and if maybe other people didn't, but I wouldn't mind privately telling you that.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm excited to hear that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've seen, Linda, while you were talking, we had a viewer, and he's always on Barn 622, asked, what's your go-to coyote setup?
So my go-to cage setup, it's the same for coyotes and for red fox. We don't really have a lot of grays around where I'm at, but so I do pretty much like a diamond. All right. I gotta write on. Perfect. All right. So I'm gonna make a little drawing, and then I'm gonna show you. Okay, this is pretty much. Can you guys see? Like,
Yeah.
pretty bad.
Yep.
All right. So here, this would be like your dirt hole. Okay. Now, if anybody's not really sure what a dirt hole is, basically you're going to take your driver, you're going to punch this down in, and you're going to wallow it out. So it looks like a dirt hole. So anything could be living in there, like mice. That's what you're trying to make it look like. All right. And this is where I put my bait. So I get a really good deal on Sawmill Creek stuff. So that's what I use. And it works. So that's important too. But so if you're going to I put normally a final step in here. That's my bait. These two little dots right here, they're just a punch hole. I take my driver. I'm going to punch hole in, but I'm not going to wallow it out. Okay. I'm just going to punch hole it in. They're kind of angled. This is my trap right here. So they're kind of angled, all going this way, if that makes sense. Can you guys see this? I feel like you can't.
Oh yeah. No,
We can
Yeah,
see
we're
it
good.
good. Chris,
Yeah, we
pull
can
you
see
up
it.
on
This
the
is
screen.
great.
So here, I'm going to put like a curiosity lure, like an autumn addiction, something that has like a castery that they're going to want to kind of just what's going on. This over here, I'm going to put a gland lure. All right. So like a coyote gland lure. The reason for that, and I started doing this when I first started trapping, and it worked, so I keep going. The reason for that is because the longer you can keep that animal at that set and get them moving their feet, the better chances you have of catching it.
Sure.
So what's happening is they're coming in. So say they come in from this angle over here. Okay. And they're coming in, maybe they step, and this happens, sometimes they step like right between the hole, and they're like, their little feet are like right there. Well, if you've got a smell over here, they're going to turn their body to smell that too. They don't normally just turn their head. They're kind of shifting their body. So that gives you more opportunity for them. They're checking everything out. So they spent more time at my set. B, they turn their body. So now if they possibly just missed that trap just a little, now they didn't.
Wow.
Nice.
That's my go-to.
About how far are you spacing those holes and trap setup wise?
So the main hole here, here is probably, so hold on, wait. This is a horrible drawing.
It's all good. We got it. We got it here.
We followed for sure.
From this dirt hole to this trap is probably about 11 to 12 inches.
Yeah.
is probably about 6 inches from like to make that diamond.
Okay.
Nice.
And what kind of? Oh, this is a foothold trap, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay. So this is like clamshell sort of deal here we're looking at.
Yeah, it's kind of
Okay.
it just makes a nice little diamond, and I make that hole, that big dirt hole. I'm gonna make it loud. I'm gonna make it noticeable. But the only reason I'm putting those little punch holes in is just because I want their feet to get moving. And I have some people say, well, I set closer for fox, I set further back for coyotes. Well, if you do that, you don't have to adjust that trap for a fox or a coyote because you've got them moving their feet, so you're still getting up.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
I don't want to interrupt anything, guys, but I know Bronson has a question. Chris
Yeah.
Chris just threw me out here and said Bronson got a question. Ask away, buddy.
What is your favorite canine location type?
Oh, so I trap a lot of fields. I do trap a lot of fields. So I look for travel ways on those fields. If a farmer has a couple roads that are coming in, so I look for those intersections of those travel ways. I do that a lot. I like if it's in a wooded area, I like where we're coming down, maybe there's a creek that runs through. I like those crossings for those creeks where they kind of funnel in. That's really nice. If you've got maybe you're trapping some land that you hunt and you've got a field, like a food plot that's there, and you've got, a wooded area and a break that comes in between, I'll go right in that break. So animals, coyotes, anything, they're really taking those paths of least resistance. They're just like humans, so look at it like, where are you going to walk? Where are you going to step? And how can you kind of bottleneck them in?
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's a good question, Bronson. I
Yeah,
really like
great.
that. You have any more?
No, that's it.
That was it. Well, listen, if you have a question, buddy, you just don't be afraid to butt in.
Yeah, those guys there,
We're big boys. You put us to the side, okay? You just
We'll be
asked.
all right, buddy.
What
So,
about you,
yeah,
Haley? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I agree. No. Oh, we took them all. Oh, well, we're good at that.
So are you selling most of your hides at sales, tanned or just dried?
so I very rarely send anything to a tanner.
Yeah.
Just basically because I don't need to. I sell a lot of things. So I get a lot of special orders. I have a couple guys who we work with that make garments and stuff. So like, for instance, Fox, they'll say, okay, I need 30 Fox, Linda, and I need them to look like this. So when you get these 30 Fox, ship them out. And they pay a better price than at sales. Things along those lines. We've been doing this long enough that we kind of have little niches with certain people, like, let's do this, let's do that. The reason we took the highs we did to the first sale is we're also part of our local county trappers association,
Yeah.
and we support those guys. So yeah, we don't take all our fur there, but we take a good little bit,
Yeah.
and that's the big thing. Like, people don't realize, like, these associations, they do what they can for us trappers. Trappers are the low-hanging fruit. PETA is after, and we're the ones that they're going to pick off first, because everybody has this idea that it's cruel and inhumane and it's got teeth and it does this and it, everything else. So we're the low-hanging fruit. But those associations, they're there to help protect your rights. And if you're not supporting them, they can't do what they need to do. And if trapping is gone, I hate to say it, guys, but your deer hunting and your turkeys and all that, they're next. Like, they're
Yeah,
going after you
absolutely.
next.
No, that's a good word.
Yeah.
I agree.
Especially that concept of supporting your local hunting associations and trapping associations. I feel like that's something that even I fall short on sometimes because I get caught up in, the economy of it all, and it's just like, man, like it's just part of the process, and if we want to enjoy it for generations to come, we got to get people involved, and we gotta give time and resources to support the things we love, and sometimes that means sacrificing in another area. So I think that's super cool that you guys are doing that.
Yeah, I feel like my father might fall short on that end. He's kind of a hermit these days. No, he really is, and he pretty much sells to private stuff as far as the skulls and all that stuff goes. But I'm the one who has to give him the directions to the fur sales and things like that because he just doesn't get out much,
Right.
other than his county, really.
Yeah.
And so I feel like he might fall short in that aspect. And most of what he's doing these days is water trapping for nuisance beavers,
Right.
flooding out roadways, things like that. And he's one of the few guys that's allowed to like tear apart huts and dams and things like that legally because he has the permits.
Yep.
And actually, he hates to do it, but sometimes they make him trap them year round, like in the summertime when they're worthless, pretty much, as far as the hide goes. We actually eat them, and they do taste pretty good. I don't know if you guys indulge in that or not, but the beaver meat actually tastes pretty good, and the casters are worth money. The skulls are worth money, so he doesn't mind it as much in the summer, but he sure likes to wait till winter if he can. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we nuisance trap as well. We have a nuisance trapping license, and we do a lot, with that. But sorry, my son just literally a text message came down and he totally lost my train of thought. I'm like, what is he text messaging me at 10 o'clock at night? He should be in bed. Sorry. So yeah, like the nuisance trapping side of things, we can tear out dams and all of that as well, but we with the fact that we have a bait and lure business, we normally keep those meats and everything because a lot of people don't realize, but you use those as the basis of a lot of different lures and everything. So we don't really eat much of anything, but as far as doing your associations and even your national associations, so you have your local associations, you have your state associations, and then you have 2 national that are on the trapping side of things. But I'm part of it all. I sit on a lot of different boards and everything, and it's really important for people to be involved in that stuff. And even if you're like your dad, who's a hermit and doesn't go anywhere or do anything, being able to even just your memberships to that.
Yeah, I do believe he's a member.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I sit on some of these phone calls, and you would be surprised how many bills and stuff that get pushed through, and at the very end, it could be about recycling. And at the very end of this bill, it'll say
Trojan horse.
Yeah, we're not gonna let you have foothold traps, or they need to be this big, or they need to be this small, or they can't. They always put this tiny little thing right at the bottom, and I can't balls and stuff. I've sat where it's you kidding me? Now doing this, come on.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they've been trying to do that with everything.
Yeah.
As far as even our state's gun. If you're in New York, you understand the gun laws and stuff at this point. It's getting wild up in here.
Oh yeah.
But
I mean, a Facebook page pretty much, because now they can go back and see if you've ever said anything it's ridiculous.
Yeah, with the semi-automatic firearms license, they can go back 5 years on your Facebook or something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's insane.
Wait, for real?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and to get the license, they have to do an interview with your spouse, like a Facebook interview or a FaceTime interview or something.
Dude, that might not go well for you, man.
It's like mine. Mine will go well.
Thank God I'm grandfathered in with the firearms I have.
Yeah. Sure.
So I actually have a couple questions. One is, and this is just a funny one, but do you sell that pink trapping girl shirt in size fat guy? Because I'd wear one of those.
Yo, I totally want Ben to
I'm
wear
not
that.
gonna lie to you, I would wear that in a heartbeat.
Although in the wrong place, Ben, that might look a little weird.
So I have a specs. How fat guy are we talking?
It's pretty fat.
Okay. So I have
I'll private message you the size.
okay. Let's see what
No, so a couple things I really took notice on when we were going, my daughter and I were going through your stuff, and we were super intrigued on was, one is of course your Trapping Girl Incorporated page. We've been watching that.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about where that came from and about that.
So I got to back up for a little bit. We can't just jump into that I got to back up for a little bit. So when I really first started getting into trapping and everything, so my husband was making baits and lures, but he didn't have a business at the time. And he's been making baits and lures forever. His uncle taught him. And then he started doing it for all his friends. Well, I got tired of these guys bringing cases of beer around, getting all this stuff, leaving beer and leaving. Like, bro. So I got tired of that. I'm like, no, wait a minute. We're gonna, if you are going to make this and this is going to be our hobby, we're gonna start selling it. We're gonna, this is good. We're gonna make some money from this. So I got a business license and everything, and that's how Sawmill came about. And it was funny because I brought everything home to him, and I said, "Oh, by the way, your first show's in a couple weeks, so you better get yourself moving." And then so we started going to all these conventions, and when we started going to all these conventions, I realized there's nothing for women. Like I couldn't find gloves that fit me. I couldn't find setters. I couldn't find like a bag or a hammer or any of that stuff. Now, was some of that stuff on other people's tables? Yeah, but it wasn't in an area that I knew that's what it was. You know what I mean? Like I really had, and I'll tell you, like you joke about like the fat guy sizes, but honestly, that's what everything was on these tables. Like if your hand wasn't a large or above, you weren't getting it, like
Sure.
gloves. Like I have the size of like a 12-year-old boy hands. Like they're bad. It's really, really bad.
Bronson's off. We could have checked that real quick.
I actually think he had a question.
Here, hold on. Here, there
He
you go.
died out in the middle of raising his hand, so I'm not sure. He might have a question for you.
I don't know if he had a question or if he was just.
No, he was signing
I'm
off.
not sure.
I think he had to. I think he had to
Go to bed for school.
take off. Yeah, he says, "Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me."
Oh, there he was.
Nice.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like I couldn't find any of that stuff, and I was like, "This is crap." Like, if I'm having these problems, so are other women.
Sure.
I'm not special. I'd like to pretend I'm special, but I'm not special. Like, so other ladies are having these issues, and I have to tell you, like, it came out of like these women came out of the woodwork. I could not like, and I knew other girls trapped, but I couldn't believe the amount of women that were out there trapping, or the amount of women that wanted to get involved in this stuff, but felt the same way I did. Like they would walk around tables and they're like, well, I can't find anything for me. I can't this. What's the point? Like, how am I going to do this? And how am I going to do it effectively? So that's how Trapping Girl came all about. And it was all because of a pair of gloves. I'm so angry that I couldn't find gloves. I'm like, I'm creating a business so that I can have a pair of gloves. Gosh darn it.
Well, good for you. That's awesome. That's inspiring. That's super cool.
It's super inspiring. That's why I asked. I assumed there was a great story behind it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I get a lot of slack from it because you have those guys who are all about like, oh yeah, we want women involved. We want families. This is a family activity. Let's get new people at this. And then you have those other guys where like, this was supposed to be a good old boys club, Linda, and you're ruining that for me. Like,
Sure.
So I get both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, it's sad when people kind of pine for the yesteryear and like I go, wait, oh man, this is great. When me and my buddies used to go out, we didn't have to worry about chicks or whatever. It's like, come on, guys. Like, It's like the half the thing. Half the point of it is so that you can share it with people. And like
Absolutely.
what better opportunity to share it with somebody that might not have any background. I'm sure. So now you said now your husband, but at the time you guys were dating, right? So like I'm sure for him, showing you what he's passionate about was probably just a ton of fun, and also just like a sense of I'm sure he had a sense of pride about it. And now you guys get to share that and do it together, which I mean, I love to take my wife out hunting when I can. And I love to go hiking with her and just share those things with her, because now they're becoming her passions, and it's time we get together. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of there's nothing that says you can't do, like, you can't just go out and trap by yourself, but also go trap with your wife, or you
Well,
can't go hike or whatever, you know.
I definitely say that we probably have a relationship like no other. Because not only like not only do you have that commitment of trapping and everything, but because we do spend that time together, and you have to have like a heavy respect for what you're doing as well. You know, some of these traps, like, yes, granted, um, they're not meant to hurt you. But if you, just like a firearm, if you're not doing it in a safe manner, if you're not handling those things properly, they can hurt you. You know, there's a body trap that I'm gonna say, if you don't have a healthy respect for that trap and you're not putting your hands where you need to put your hands, you can have some consequences for it. And
Certainly.
so, like, we have a relationship where we really have to have some real good respect and trust for each other. We have to have some really good communication. It has definitely built a relationship that, you know, I have friends that don't have those kind of relationships with their husband, because they don't have that kind of communication. They don't have that kind of respect and everything that we've built by being out on the trapline together.
Sure. Yeah.
You know? And I'm gonna tell you, there have been times where he's wanted to leave me in a swamp. Today was one of them. Today was one of them. We were talking to a really good friend of mine, and he is like, "I'm gonna tell you, you're lucky I love you, because I would have left you out there. Like, it would have happened."
I love that.
Training ground for marriage. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. Oh,
So another thing that we looked at and we've seen is you're part of two groups as well.
Mm-hmm.
We were looking on your one page, and I can't remember the group, so forgive me. I try not to remember things on purpose because I want you to tell us about them.
okay.
And I feel like the more I know before we get on here, it's not fair to the viewers. So there was two groups you were part of. One was a Trappers Association, I believe.
Oh.
And then there was another one. What was the other group you were part of?
So I'm part of the FTA, and I actually sit on the board of the FTA, which is for Takers of America. I'm a member. The NTA, which is the National Trappers Association, I write all of the articles for the She Side, which is the American an article that's in the American Trapper, and then I also run the workshops and everything at the National Trapping Association's convention. Now, the other group that I'm part of, that was the trapping part of things. The other group that I'm part of is I sit on the board, and I am the executive media director for Women of the Wild. And what that is we are a group of women who basically do everything that we possibly can to make any outdoor activity available for women. If you have never held a shotgun before and you want to go shoot a duck, you know, like, let's do it. We'll teach you how to do it. We'll teach you what you need to do. You know, if you want to figure out how to shoot a bow and you want to go out and shoot a deer, let's do it. Let's figure out how to do it. We're going to teach you how to do it. If you want to go trap, if you want to go fishing, if you want to go hiking or canoeing and you just don't know how to, we have events. We even and it's a small cost. Like, there is a cost involved because you sometimes have to pay guides, or you have to, you know, whatever. Like, we're sending women to Africa, but we also take we sell like shirts and stuff like that so that we can raise money. And like we just did a duck hunt with veterans, with women veterans. There were 5 of them, and none of the veterans had to pay for anything.
That's super cool.
I think that's amazing, to be honest with you. I knew there was a lot to it. Like I said, we were reading up on a bunch of it, but I don't want to be the one to say it. I don't think that's fair. I think that's amazing. I think the viewers needed to hear that.
Yeah.
Because
That's awesome.
Like we did a calendar and we did a cookbook, and I know that all sounds really cheesy, but like all those proceeds that you get, we give that back. Like it's an LLC. We're not a nonprofit yet. We are trying to get our nonprofit, but like we're all volunteers. You know, there's nothing that we're taking for us. This isn't like a get rich kind of thing. Because let me tell you, if it was, that would be nice. But our whole thought is that right now, and I'm going to get a little sappy, but I'm a girl, so I'm allowed to get a little sappy here. Like right now, you have so many kids that they can't even hold a conversation because they're sitting on a phone. You know, you've got mom in one room, you know, playing on her phone or watching the TV. You've got dad, maybe he's out hunting, but he's doing his own thing. There's so many different family dynamics right now where they're not brought together, you know, and hear from a lot of women that the reason why they don't go out is they don't have the communication with their spouse to learn these things, and they feel frustrated. Like he's not going to teach me the way I need to be taught, or it's not going to work out and I don't want to cause a fight, so I just don't do it. I just don't learn. Which 9 times out of 10, if you get mom involved, the kids get involved as well. So we look at it as, why don't we find a place where women can ask all those questions? They don't have to be judged. They can learn how to, like, for instance, where I just said, like, I have baby hands, how I set a trap and how my husband sets a trap are totally different because I'm built different. So, and how when he taught me how to do these things, like there were a lot of times where he was super frustrated. He's like, listen, Linda, just do it. Like, and I'm like, no, I can't. Like, that's not how I can do it. And I had to figure it out on my own, how to get from A to B, but kind of take a detour, you know, like how to do that. So that's basically what we're doing. We're giving women a place to learn all these things so they can take it home and they can incorporate it with their families. Like, so that your wife can come home and say, hey, listen, you know, I just learned how to shoot a bow and I now feel comfortable, and I learned all the safety, you know, what I need to do, what I need to look for. I feel comfortable with it. So let's go out together. Let's, you know, or let's be able to now keep our kids together. You know, let's take that time out. And also, especially with split families these days, you know, like trapping. Trapping is an everyday thing. Like you have to be committed every day. Well, how many kids out there may go and trapping with dad, you know, during the week or the weekend, but then they can't get the trap line because they're with the other parent well, now they don't have to worry about that. Mom feels safe. She knows the rules. She knows the regulations. She doesn't have to say, no, you can't go. She can say, get in the car. We're going. You made a commitment.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
I think that's absolutely fantastic.
Sorry, I went on a rant there.
No,
I don't think you went on a rant at all, and I sure don't think you got sappy.
Okay.
So I say this every time. I'm a single dad with 3 kids.
Yeah.
And when you say that, what you just said, it touches me because, you know, I have a daughter who hates to hunt, but my boy wants to do it. He's getting to an age where he can now, and this one absolutely loves it. So, that's, you know, she'll say to me, Dad, can I go with you? And I'm thinking I'm going myself.
Yeah.
So when I hunt without her, it's never the same. And I'll tell you that every time. I could be with all my buddies. It's never the same when she's not there. So No, you've touched me by that, because I think the fact that you want to reach more women and more children doing that, I think it's amazing.
You know, right now are the largest demographic that is growing in the outdoor community.
Mhm.
They really are. And the thing is, we need to embrace that. That's how you're going to save these outdoor, like trapping, fishing. I hate calling them sports because like there's a lot more to this than just a sport, like I hate calling it
Agree.
a sport. But I mean, if you're gonna really fight PETA, if you're gonna fight all these people who are against us, you need to educate people. You need to make them feel welcome. You need to make them feel like, okay, there's a spot, and that's how you're gonna save these different activities. That's how you're gonna be able to fight back.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
love
I
that.
think
Hey,
that's very
you're
well
involved
said.
with that. What
I
was
know
your
my pause at the after what you had just said there was just because like I'm just processing it. Like it's such a cool thing and it's such a cool mindset because it is like it's it's a male dominated field.
Yeah.
We're excited to see more women come into it. That's why Ben and
it's our
Chris wanted
goal?
to put this together for women in the outdoors and just like talk girl power because, like you were saying, yeah, you may be doing this a different way. You might have to find out this completely different method. But you know what? Like I've learned so much from my wife by watching her do things differently than I have.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that she's more inquisitive about it. She's more cautious and careful about how she does things. And I have a lot to learn from that. And so
She's not watching this, is she? Because you're
no,
never going to live this down. You better make sure she ain't in the
of
next
course,
room.
yeah, she knows that. She knows that. So, but yeah, no, it is like it's cool what you can learn from each other. And I think you're right. I think as that shift is happening and we're increasing the number of women in this, like we'll just use in the sport for the case of this discussion. But like as we add more women into the sport, we're learning more and we're finding all these different methods and ways of doing things that we would never have thought on our own. And to me, that's exciting. And so you kind of can put that together with the family aspect, with the mindset, with just like the fact that there's just different genetic things going on in women that aren't going on in men, and vice versa.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just cool. Like it's a cool playground to learn a lot of new things.
There's a bond there. I know with Tess, we had Tess on and Angie before you, and
Yeah.
they stressed the same thing with their husbands. There's this huge bond there, even though they may be doing their own thing and it's still always together. It's still
Mhm.
always growing stronger. And let's face facts, besides just women, relationships in 2023 need that.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, and like I where we both were married before, and I'll tell you, like there's like I was talking before, there's definitely something I never had before because when you're out in the woods, like whether it's with a firearm, whether it's trapping, whether you're fishing, there's always that safety aspect, and you always have to have that really good communication. You have to realize, okay, what you're surrounded, who is around you, like is my husband walking up on me? If we're not hunting together, where is what's going on? You have to pay attention a little bit more. You have to have that communication. And it's really those things that have happened in the woods have been even like into discussion, even how we argue or however you want to put it, like you know it's totally different. It's totally different. And like it's funny because so my sister-in-law made the comment when I first started trapping and everything. She had said, my husband, she's like, she must really love you because I never thought she would do this, like never. And I'm the one who pushes this stuff. Like, let's do this. Let's go. I want to do it. I want to talk. I want to talk to more people about it. He says all the time, like, well, you volunteer and you're part of things too much and everything else. And I think what drives that is because my first real look into trapping was PETA. Like that was the first thing I saw, and how wrong that was.
Mhm.
So it's almost like I feel like it's my mission to tell everybody how wrong that is and educate them what you need to do, why this is important.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. That's cool. And yeah, especially in a day and age where there's so much lack of authenticity and so much misrepresentation. And it's so easy to just, I mean, you can find so much. People love the internet, and I do. It's an amazing resource. But at the same time, it is just as easy to find incorrect, false information as it is to find factual information.
Right.
And it's
so I just-
plastered everywhere.
What was
Now-
your,
All the bad stuff is just plastered everywhere, and it takes you a little bit of digging to get to the good stuff. So
Mhm.
Haley had a question. What was your question?
So I seen that your traps are like different colors. Like, what is the purpose or reason behind why they're like different colors?
So my traps, I personally are pink. And everybody's always like, okay, so she likes the color pink. She's kind of girly, you know, and that's true. I do like the color pink, kind of girly. The other thing is I'm really kind of pokey and I have little legs too. So when that trap, like even a deer, when that trap goes up and it's sitting on top of the ground, I can see that. Okay, so if I look at that with like a pair of binoculars, I can see where if it was just guided, it's a black or a dark brown. That's really hard to see. So
Yeah.
I can check my traps from a distance. So I don't have to physically walk up to my trap every day. I can
You're so
walk
smart.
the field, I can look, I can see what's there, and then I can leave. So that was a problem whenever I was first going out. I mean, my husband would be all the way to the traps and halfway back, and I'm like high-fiving him on the way, and like warm up the truck kind of thing, you know, because I'm little, I'm really pokey. I see a butterfly and I get distracted. I'm not gonna lie, like those are things that happen. So, and he's very mission driven, like, and that's a difference between men and women. Like you have a mission, you're on it. Where I notice the tracks, I notice the scat, I see what's going on around me, which makes me pokey. So with being able to see that trap sticking up out of the ground, I don't have to get up there. I don't have to be right on it all the time. It speeds things up. And it's nice. It's a lot easier.
That's so smart.
That was a good question, Haley.
Yeah,
to,
that's a
go,
great-
to extend on that,
Yeah.
are they just painted, or are they Cerakoted, or are they plasti? Like what?
Yeah, what is it?
So, well,
Because I know like dyeing and waxing is a huge thing for my father.
Mhm.
He is
yeah,
like big on that. So are you not doing that, or
I'm not doing that. My husband still dyes because my husband, what they call tint blind, so he couldn't tell you if that was there or not. Like if he shoots a deer, I have to track. Like
Oh, wow.
I can't see the.
okay?
So, but I used to spray paint them. Okay. I spray painted them. I would let them hang outside for about a month before I would wax them because I want that.
Sure.
The whole painting of your hot on. So, from people seeing a trap everywhere, that there was a gentleman named Newt. He owns Snare One, and he does this dip. So he made me my own paint dip. So now I have a dip. It's just a speed dip. So now I speed dip my traps, and it is a lot faster, and I don't have to hang
Okay.
outside as much because they don't have that smell. It's water dip. It doesn't have like the acetone or anything like that, so I don't have to worry about it too much. But if you are going to paint your traps, you're going to want to cover them. I open them, I close them. I mean, it gets painted quite a lot, and it's just Rust-Oleum paint from Walmart. It's cheap. It's not like it's anything, you know. I'm not dealing with like a $10 can of paint here. It's like $1.25 or something. It's nothing great. but you just spray paint them, make sure they're fully covered outside so that paint smell dissipates, let them weather, and I just wax them.
Wow.
All right.
And then so
Interesting.
when you're using them, I'm sorry, Brandon, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Go
So
ahead.
when you're using them, I mean, obviously, it's your trap should always be covered, right? I mean, when you're talking about like concealing the trap.
Oh yeah.
Right. So I mean, so it's not in terms of functionality and the animal seeing the trap any better or any worse. It shouldn't make a difference, right?
Yeah, that animal has no clue that trap's there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And if they do, then you're doing something wrong, like really.
It's
wrong.
always funny because I have guys that are like, do pink traps catch pink or like female coyotes and everything? Like, they have no clue. They have no clue that trap is there. It's no different than if you were dyeing and waxing. But I've caught muskrats in pink 110s. So quite does the color at all matter? I couldn't even tell you, because how many times have you gone out to a farmer's field and you'll see old cans, you'll see old whatever just thrown there.
Sure.
Those coyotes walk by that, they sniff it, they check it out, and I a lot of the times I cover my traps with grass. I cover it with dirt. I use green cover it with grass, and I kind of like blend it. So, I mean, how I do things is a little bit different, but it works,
And I'd say your count proves that. I'm just saying, like, I would say your count pretty well is proof in the pudding.
Have you dealt with any pushback from that? Like so they're more visual, right? Like you're saying you can check it. As far as like, so I know my dad in the last couple of years has had some serious issues with people tearing up traps, and he's had to get I mean, no, it's gotten really bad in a few spots actually, that he actually has told them that I won't trap there, even nuisance wise. I just won't do it. So with your traps being pink and standing out a little bit more, such as the 110s or the 220s, whatever you're using in the swamps, have you had more issues with that because they're more noticeable?
So I will tell you, I have never had a pink trap stolen.
Okay.
My husband, we have trapped on state land. My husband they both been sprung. Now, it doesn't cause them from maybe like springing them. Maybe you had a really horrible rain come through and it kind of uncovered the trap a little bit, and you had somebody who was walking through the woods or whatever and noticed that there was a trap there. Like I've had sticks before in traps or whatnot, but I have never ever had a pink trap stolen. My husband, on the other hand, has had lots of traps stolen.
Oh yeah.
That sucks. That's too bad.
But I really think
I'm not laughing. I'm not. I'm just like, you think the trap that stands out the most would be the one they'd take.
Well, I think
Right.
first of all, who wants to walk out of the woods with a pink?
Good point.
Like how many of you guys are? I mean, I'm sure you're all gonna say, "Oh, I'm okay with it," but how many guys are really manly enough to stand around and hold a pink trap?
You can't hide it.
Second of all, right, hiding it, like where if it was my husband that dyed and waxed, he can just throw it in the back of his truck. No one's gonna think anything of it. If you threw my pink trap in the back of your truck, people are going to start asking questions, and it's illegal to steal somebody's trap.
Yep.
Sure. Wow. Dang, man. Why do people steal stuff? I know that's like an aside, but I just can't understand that.
People are dirty sometimes when it comes to trapping. I know 1 year there was a lady who followed my father around, literally followed his truck around, and every time he'd set a trap, she'd somehow figure out a way to pull it. She would just follow him around, and she marked on her maps, and she'd pull them, and she ended up stealing all of them, and she ditched them somewhere. And I know that like my father ended up catching her at some point. He set a trail camera on one of the last passes setting traps, and ended up catching her, and it was big fines.
Oh yeah.
It was intense. I know, like
Wow.
He's like, I'm taking her to court. I'm pressing charges. I'm not dealing with it.
Absolutely.
And
Rightfully so.
it was bad. I know he ended up getting all of his traps back. They sent out like a search party where she ditched him and found them all.
Wow.
And yeah, oh yeah, he was like, "I want my traps back. They're dyed, they're dipped." Obviously, he had to redo them and everything because she was handling them. But he's like, "I have my traps that I want. Springs are set the way I want them. Everything." And they did find him, but he still drug her butt into court.
Good.
And they went round for round with it. So
Wow.
I don't know exactly how it all turned out, but I know he was paid for his aggravation. It paid for lures and baits for the whole season. So
So
Yeah,
kind
right.
of off subject here, guys. I know I just looked up and seen we're at an hour 25. So kind of off subject here. She brought up something about she said about kids on their cell phone. So I want to throw something out there from our spot of this. So one of the reasons we made this board game was to try to stimulate kids from this and actually making some communication time and hoping to intrigue them into the woods
Yeah.
by playing. It's kind of, trying to stoop to their level, getting them off a phone, and then going to the next level where they start to get a little intrigued and be like, man, if I try that, what if I really try that? So that was kind of part of the board game. I know some people laugh at that, but that's really the reality of where Chris and I stood to make that.
I like the whole eat ham thing you had on there.
Did you like that?
Laugh and I'm like, watch, I'm gonna be cracking up laughing, and they're gonna hey Linda, and I'm gonna be like,
There's Chris.
Chris,
But that's the point. I mean, the point was we
good
wanted to
ones
make it
in there.
fun. We want to make it fun. We wanted to intrigue kids. We wanted to intrigue people, all people.
right.
And I think we can do it. I really do. We pre-sold 91, so I'm really excited to.
That's awesome.
Whitetail Institute, Whitetail Unlimited. I forgot who it was. Just contacted me to set up a stand at Potter County.
Dude, that's hype.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So hopefully the games are in by then.
Yeah.
But I don't want to leave today without. Like I said, we're at hour 27. We're normally 45, 50. Every one of you women we have been on with an hour and a half, and I think it's great. I don't
Easy.
care about the time; it means nothing.
Well,
But I
would
do.
say that is waiting for me to go to bed. I'm normally in bed by 9:30.
yeah,
When
my wife's been in bed for 40 minutes. So
9:00, he looked at me and he said, "Don't they realize you have a bedtime?"
So yeah, I don't want to keep you on. I know I get up at 4 for work as well, and I know other people have lives, so we try to stay within the hour.
Yeah.
I super appreciate you coming on.
yeah, it was awesome. Thank you.
Does any of you guys have any more questions for her before we go? Anybody? You got any?
No,
I
I just like to say thank you for coming on. It's been great talking with you, and I know I've learned a ton. Hopefully we get a chance to talk to you again. I know I'll be sending you a couple messages with some questions.
Absolutely.
But yeah, just really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'll catch you at some of the trapping conventions or something I would go to with my father or something.
Yeah. Where is he at? New York too?
Yeah, he's in New York. He's over in Rensselaer County, east of Albany.
Oh, yeah.
So we're probably 5.5, 6 hours from you or so. If you're just south of Buffalo.
Yeah.
Um,
So at the convention, I'm always free.
yeah, he goes to Herkimer all the time. So
Yep. And I'm in a demo. I'll be doing a demo too. So
all right, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Sounds
before
good.
we go, of course, I'm going to ask because that's what I do, especially this month, is what would be your advice to any woman, child out there trying to learn the sport of trapping or hunting or any sport in general that would bring them outdoors?
my advice to them would be don't let anybody tell you that you can't. Just don't. If you truly want to do this, there is a way to do it. You may have to connect with a couple different people to find the best way for you, but go to these conventions, watch some demos, talk to people, start asking questions, and then make it your own. Figure out how it works for you. Learn what they're doing. Take all the information that you get, find out, especially for instance, when I had to set my traps, I don't set my traps like my husband did. It took me quite a while to get a rhythm where I was efficient and I had some speed to it and everything else, but that's okay. Like, that's fine. Making things your own. Don't have anybody tell you that you can't. Don't have them say, oh, well, if you don't do it exactly my way, it's wrong, because it's not. This is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be something that you enjoy. This is supposed to be something that, you know, out there and you're happy to do it. So just make it your own.
I love that. That's great advice,
Absolutely.
Linda. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And if anybody has questions, if you're watching this and you're like, hey, I have questions, if you can't find social media, you're not. So seriously, reach out. I'm super easy to talk to. Do I sometimes not answer? Yes, because I get a lot of things, but I will tell you, I will eventually answer, I promise. Take a couple days, because I have a ton of people who message me, but don't let that discourage you from messaging me. Like, we will chat, come up to me at conventions, ask me questions. Like, that's part of the reason why I'm here, is to get other people involved.
Cool.
Well, that's our goal in this whole thing. We want to keep branching out, reaching people, and just letting people know that this can be done.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a living. It can just be a love and a passion.
Absolutely.
So, you know, that's where we're at with it. And I appreciate you coming on. I super appreciate your time. I'm sorry that your husband didn't tell us you had a bedtime before we started.
It's fine. It's fine. I told
next Monday, we have Dawn Freeland with Women Can Hunt. So Women Hunt Too it is. Super excited. She is women can hunt too, women can fish too, women can camp too. Man, she is all over the internet, just like you ladies. I am super excited to see her as well, meet her. She said she has to tone down to some of the words she uses. So I thought that was great, because I thought we're all human.
I have to do that too on a daily.
Yeah. So super excited for you. Thank you. I loved having you. I'm glad Bronson jumped on and he wanted to just come on and see you. He thought it was great.
Yeah.
You know, and that's it. Just stuff like that. Reaching that little boy, he texted me, "Can I jump on tonight?" Absolutely. But he got some questions for her. Jump on.
Yeah, that's
You know,
fantastic.
that's what we want. That's what the goal is. So I just thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure. It was fun.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm glad. I was one thing. I always hope when you ladies leave, you feel like it was worth it and that you had a good time doing it.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much. Good night, everybody.
Good night. God
And
bless.
God bless.
Yeah, thank you so much.